As entrepreneurs, we all have a reason why we chose to leave our 9 to 5 for an 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. I'm here to capture those stories of why we all hustle and grind for our companies. Marie is a business strategist with an expertise in strategic online business partnerships for talented coaches and consultants with a passion for growing and scaling their business. So, Marie, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's awesome to be here. I'm so excited about this. It sounds like a lot of fun.
Absolutely. It's going to totally be a whole lot of fun.
Yes.
Podcasts are something that just keeps my day going. This is the best part of my day are doing podcasts because I love hearing all of these stories that people do. And I love like digging into the stories. This is what happens when your mom's a shrink and you're a storyteller by nature.
Huh.
Let me figure out what's going on in your head, but please do it in story format. So I'd like to start off with this. Tell the audience, what is your specific ninja skill or your zone of genius?
Okay, so my zone of genius is that I am an organizational person by nature. I love systems and processes. You can ask my kids. So this is where my love of everything online came together, background and everything. So I think that's a zone of genius, right? Organization.
Mm-hmm. I would say so, especially if you're
Yeah.
working with a bunch of visionaries. I have this concept. I'm kind of doing this sort of like internal study, like something that I just kind of watch people do, and I'm watching for trends in people. And I've noticed that every entrepreneur, like the really good ones, we're all very ADHD.
Yes.
And we're really good at what we do. Like we can think in 1,000 directions at once. Our brains are like supercomputers. We need somebody like you to say, great, you have 1,000 really awesome ideas. Which two are we going to do?
Yes.
And to help
Yes.
help us stay in our zone of genius. Because I could be an implementer. There's the concept of the visionary and implementer. The visionary comes up with all the really great ideas. The implementer is the one that actually makes it work. It's part of EOS is the structure for it.
Mhm.
As a visionary, I can act as an implementer. I don't like doing it, but I can
Yep.
do it if I have to. But people like you let us be in our little world of genius, a little zone of genius, and really help
It's
us
like
be
a
busy. So
creative space, right? Like you
that's it.
want to see something actually come to vision and to light. Like you have this like great thing that happens in your brain. And then all of a sudden, when you work with a visionary and an implementer together, it's like those things become reality.
Mhm.
And that's where I found my beautiful space in the online world, is because I would connect with visionaries who had these great ideas. And not that I don't have ideas, it's just that I love to say, okay, great. Step one, what are we doing today? What are we doing tomorrow? What are we doing the next day? And then as we move along the process, that one vision that we had from a year ago becomes like this amazing business process that is connected and really impacts people. So
Mhm.
that's where my bread and butter comes from a lot of times.
So how did you come into this space? Like what was that moment? Because that's what the podcast is about, is more about,
Right.
why do you hustle and grind? What did you come into that? What's that origin story that you have about learning you're really good at this and you love doing it?
Got it. So my first job out of college was as a Black Hawk helicopter pilot for the Army. So I am trained to do a whole lot of really cool things. And although I love that job and I would do it all day, every day, shout out to all my amazing female soldiers out there. What wasn't working was also building a family. So I had my son, absolutely amazing. My husband and I were both in the military at the same time. We both came up on deployment orders when our son was 6 months old. And at that point, you have to kind of make a decision. You don't have to. People do it all the time. They make it work. It's amazing. But we felt like we needed to make a decision about who stays home, or do we have our baby go live with grandparents for a year plus? This is right in the middle of the Iraq War. So there was a lot of weird things happening. And I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I resigned my commission at that point and I stayed home to have a couple kids, which was absolutely amazing. Loved being a mom. But when we finished having our family, and we have two really awesome kids, um, I'm a go person. I need to be out there. I need to do a thing. And I started my online business from that, just as I needed to get out. We were talking earlier about identity and how you don't lose that. I had two really cool small kids at home, but I was the only person I was talking to all the time. Nobody spoke. Um, And so I created my business from that, and I started in the online world and really built from nothing. I had no idea. I was just that person who said yes and figured it out. And I really love that drive that entrepreneurs have. But my drive came from staying home with my kids. They're still home with me full time, which is a lot of fun. So that's kind of where the origin story of starting my online business came from.
I have to say that there's a first here. You're the first Black Hawk helicopter pilot that I've ever had on the show.
Yes.
I'm a little jealous. Just going to throw it out there. It's one of my bucket lists.
Totally. It's a really awesome experience. I'm super thankful that it worked out and that, yeah, it was just something I had a dream about when I was young and I made it happen. So it was a lot of fun.
I love that. I love that. And I think, first of all, thank you for your service. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
What is there's got to be a correlation there because with the military, it would make sense that there is a skill set that you learned in the military that would make you really good at what you do today. And so what are those things that you can pull from that military experience into your business?
Yeah, especially as a pilot. I know that other parts of the military, they have operations and systems and things, but as a pilot, we have a checklist. We have to do something or in order or people literally will die. So I took that, and when I was started working with entrepreneurs, I was like, why are you not writing this down? You do this thing over and over and over again. Why aren't we creating a checklist around it? Why aren't we creating a system around it? Why are we doing this thing? And that's where those visionaries are really amazing and beautiful, and they make it happen. Like, in spite of themselves, they have this really amazing business. Nobody ever wrote it down. So I started to align with them, and that's what I took. I was like, we need to create a checklist. We need to create a process, because at the end of the day, they don't want to keep doing this, right? Like, they're going to want to pass it to somebody else. So that's, I'm sure other people have other experiences, but that just came to my mind when I started working with people. So organizations, systems, processes, all of those things helped me start my business. And then I found this really beautiful niche inside of partnerships and collaborations. And now I use those systems and processes for people to build businesses with other people.
Now, when you say businesses, I just want to go back to that for a second because
Sure.
I think that the implementer space, it has there's a lot there are a lot of people in it. And I think that you have a specific niche in that. And so when you say with your partnerships, are you talking like, playing referee? Cause I heard one client of mine say that, partnership is like a marriage and just sometimes it doesn't go, you might need a referee. Or what is it, building partnerships, or like what part of partnerships in that is that niche that you have?
Yeah. Building partnerships, absolutely. I also find that a lot of my clients will want to put together an event, some kind of visibility option, think summits or giveaways, or an event where they have speakers coming in, and they don't want to herd all of the cats that can be those millions of different people that are coming in. And did they promote? Did they not promote? All the things. So my niche is inside of making sure that our hosts have that visibility that the collaborators have said they're going to do. So if you and we have a collaboration right now, right? Like, we're going to do this. And I said, oh yeah, when this is out, let me know, I'll share it. If you don't come back and check with me and I didn't share it, like, okay, we've kind of lost the momentum. So we align with hosts to be able to help them share. And then also that naturally builds partnerships. Like, we were introduced by a really amazing friend of ours.
Uh-huh.
And now partnerships are building. So we facilitate that for our clients, because a lot of times they want to be inside of those communities. They want to be training. They want to be speaking. They want to do all kinds of cool stuff. They don't necessarily want to herd all the cats that can be all over everywhere. Because herding cats makes sense too.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's probably the most accurate description of business I've heard in a while.
Yes. It's all the cats.
It really is just herding cats and figuring out what's going to happen and where the hell did that one come from. And
Yeah. And then, like, hey, attention over here. Like, we're doing a thing. Like you said you were going to promote. With all kindness and grace, like, we understand people are busy, and I make jest of it, but things are busy. It's really busy online. And so if you're not tracking things consistently, it'll fall through the cracks, and that's just not good for your business. It's just like, your finances and things. You got to fill those cracks. Otherwise, you're losing out on really amazing, not only introductions, but like leads. The leads that need to see you, you might be losing out on them just because you don't follow up with somebody. Does that make sense?
it absolutely makes sense to me because
Yeah.
as a visionary, I mean, I know there's huge gaps in what I do. Like there's parts of like bookkeeping. I would rather have my eyes clawed out than do bookkeeping. I hate it with a capability that can be called nuclear. It's so something that has to happen, but it's not my zone of genius. I'm okay at it. It's not good. It's not something we need people that are able to balance that for us. So
Mhm.
like when you say, hey, go out and share this with me. No, I'm not going to remember if you don't share it with me because I'm in my visionary mode. And I think it's really important the need that you fill. I want to go back to a little bit of something that you said earlier, where
Sure.
often we don't see that. Like as visionaries, we have all of our good ideas. We might have been able to cobble something together. We might have been able to make this kind of work for the time being. In the stage of our company where our titles are, yes, all the things. When we're starting a very small company that's just starting up, maybe 2 or 3 people together, there's a stage that comes to that though, where there's a growth that has to happen and a transition. So you have the company that's only one person or there's only 2 people. Where does when you're just getting out of that mode where you're just doing whatever you need to do to make this business grow and you're in that really early growth mode, where do you see that transition being between that and okay, now I need to get an implementer in?
Mhm.
I hope I said that well. There's that transition where you get to the point where things are so untenable, something's got to change. What's that in when what speak to your visionaries and say, if you're seeing these symptoms, this is when you need to pull in an implementer. I think that's a better
Yeah.
idea. Yep.
Yeah, that's a great description. A lot of times implementers will come to me when the hats that they're wearing are start to fall off. They
Mm.
know that they're missing something. They know they should have. They know somebody's waiting for them. They know they got to do this thing, and it starts to be not fun anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like they're like, I want this to go out there, but I don't want to have to deal with like following up on all those emails, or I don't need to book this, or what if this contract doesn't get set out, or my members don't hear from me, and like there starts to be all of these things that happen, and they start to get overwhelmed with like my business is going to fail and it's my fault. And at that point, I usually can step in with them and say, you're absolutely beautiful and wonderful, and we just need to implement a couple things. And they absolutely love it. I've been working with a visionary for the last couple of weeks, and she was like, I just need you to catch me. Like, I'm just going to say, and you just catch me. And when she knows that somebody's there to catch the things that are coming out, oh, I have an idea. Oh, what if we did this? Oh, I don't like that color. Oh, I want the things. Like, when somebody's there to catch it and to put it all out where it needs to be, now they know that they can continue to be visionary without that white noise background of like, oh crap, did somebody send out the email, or did somebody schedule social, or did somebody make sure all the bills were paid? Like all of those things are not in the visionary's best interest to keep on. They need to continue to be visionaries.
Yeah.
So does that help?
Oh, that does. That does.
Good.
And as a visionary who has been through this process, I understand completely where you're coming at. I just wanted you to be able to say that to folks because
Mhm.
often we get so caught up in our own little worlds and we're in our vision. And we have a very strong vision and a strong passion for that vision. Sometimes when we're in that, it's hard for us to see that transition happening where it's really
Yeah.
difficult, where we're just used to doing everything ourselves because we're entrepreneurs, we're very self-reliant. Then it's getting used to what is the suck that's kind of a necessary part of business. It's that hustle and grind, doing what you need to do to build this thing. And when does it become so sucky that we need to pull someone else in? And I
Yeah.
think it's hard. It gradually creeps up on us. And it's hard to, it's like sitting back and going, oh, crap, my people haven't heard from me in 4 months, stuff like that.
Right. And then it starts to be like a guilt. Like they start to feel guilty that they're visionaries. And it's like, no, like we need you out there. You should continue to be visionaries and should align with people who are thinking on the opposite side of the coin. Like we're all here for the same mission. And that's usually what's happening. We just have the same two sides of the same coin. And that way things can get out there and we can impact more people, like all of the great, wonderful feels that happen because entrepreneurs are entrepreneurs. So.
And I think one of the things that's happened with me just personally, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs do this too, is we feel like failures because it's not
Yeah.
working when really we're just missing a piece.
Yep. Yeah. And it's not a failure at all. It just, it's a limiter, right? Like you can only do so much. If you don't practice doing a little bit more, pushing out your comfort zone, you're not going to find where that space is. So your growth allows somebody else to come in and grow themselves. Like I align with people who are growing ahead of me so that I can continue to grow myself. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. It's a great technique where you spend some time working with somebody who's farther along than you are. And then that way now you're built. Yeah, it's actually a great technique to build yourself because now you're seeing
Yes.
what somebody else is doing, the right, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
And then also like there's experience in there and we're growing together and they see a visionary sees something like completely different than I do, but I'm looking at it and they're like, oh, we need to keep making sure this is happening together to make a holistic business happen, because that's what has to be out there in the world. There's a vision, there's a passion for a reason. And we can't deny that. It'll just sit in your stomach for however long until you just give in. So if you're not an entrepreneur yet and you think you should be, you probably should just go ahead and make it happen. Like it's just the way.
If you're having a conversation with yourself, yes, you are.
Yeah.
Just go do it. Come
The
on.
answer is yes, just happen. Just call it what it is.
If you like playing your video games on hard mode, you probably want to think about it too.
Oh my God.
If you like skydiving, other things like that, you might be an entrepreneur. Now, you were talking about events and helping people to do events. Is that the only thing that you do? Is that kind of that really specific niche you're in, or is there other parts of it? Or what do your services entail?
Yeah, events is one thing that really most entrepreneurs can relate to, like list building with a giveaway or a summit or an event that they're putting on live. But those events can only happen when you're having a consistent partnership program. So we do long-term strategic partnerships for most of our clients. And then inside of that, they might have lead generation events that are there. I started with events. I really like it. Like I was coming into teams and then I was helping them for like 4 or 5 months and I was coming out again. What I found is that I missed out on like the excitement of a visionary and the long-term plan and how my work fit inside of that. So I like working with people long-term because the partnership program itself grows, just like your sales program grows, just like anything else, the transitions that happen in your courses or your memberships, all those things grow a long time. So we have recurring clients that stay with us for a long time, but I think all of them have some kind of visibility space that they want to continue to have out there, giveaways, launch, summits, any of those kind of things.
Yeah, just mainly it's really revolves around just more helping us keep everything together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's a big chunk of your business. It's lead generation. Like you probably also have like an ads team.
Yeah.
So it's the same sort of thing. This is just, for me, it's organic, it's long-term, it's strategic, it's like more intimate. You know, an ads team is just, I don't know. I'm not an ads like fan, so I'm not the best person here for that, but it's important in a business. It's just, you wouldn't probably do your own ads forever. You're going to want to scale to a team doing it. Same things with your partnerships. You're going to want somebody to take care of those people. So we come in there and we love on people. So it's a lot of fun.
Nice. So a true implementer though. So you're just liaising with all of these folks to be able to say, okay, you're ads guy. We're going to need this and this. There's, it keeping that together. So a true implementer, correct?
There are a lot of implementation jobs inside of that.
Mm-hmm.
And each business is different. Some people really enjoy doing certain things. It's more about making sure that business owner has the support that they need. And if they need to bring in other team members to kind of do that for them, and keep things moving forward. But partnerships is just a passion. And so I usually like to keep that on myself.
Yeah. And I like to say that, life's a team sport.
Yes.
You're not going to do this yourself. I mean, for me, I've tried it, doesn't work at all. Bringing other people in and bringing experts who are smarter than I am. I'm personally, my philosophy is I like to have a limited functional knowledge of every part of my business. However, I also understand that there are things that there are other people that will be better than I am at something. So ads, I'm okay. I mean, all right, I can do it, but there's somebody else that's brilliant at it that can be even better at it, and they can help me out even more. And having that idea with me, at least kind of having a limited functional knowledge, means I can at least kind of understand what it is, and then kind of outsource it to the experts. But I'm also one of those folks that I like to be that person that knows a guy and to be able to refer to people. and to be able to refer those experts. Because if you have a gap in your knowledge and you don't see it, you don't know that there might be somebody out there who's really good at this one thing that I need, being the connector and folks that can help people fill that gap is something, at least for me, that I'm a huge fan of. So I get what you mean when you say partnerships. Strategic partnerships are really, for me, an essential part of business.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can't, like you said, we can't do everything. And knowing those people allows us not only to know them, but then to know somebody else, right? Like people know people. So you widely expand your entire possibilities if you just continue to have good partnerships and good people in your world. And I don't know how people could do business by themselves. I'm going to go ahead and state that it's not possible.
Yeah.
It's not possible.
Yeah.
I don't think you can.
Well, I think it's not possible and maintain some sort of mental health. And I guess it's so hard to do that it's next to impossible. Yeah. And I've seen people try it and it never, ever works out. And these are really good type A's, but it doesn't work out.
Well, and not to the scale that they probably want it, right? I believe that most people start an online business because eventually they want to sell it, right? Like eventually they're going to want to get out of it. They can never sell if you're the only person in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because then it just doesn't work that way. That's why we put systems and processes and have good partnerships, and we create this whole thing around this business where you then are taken out of it. And it can sell and it can become something that lives on past who you in general. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like, we want our visions to continue to live on past us. I don't always want to be in this role. And I can only do that if I'm sharing what I know with other people. That's why I come on podcasts like this. It's like, let's share knowledge and let's just chat about it, because I might have something that triggers somebody else that's listening and saying, oh yeah, maybe I should go check out either an integrator, or maybe I should create an event or whatever. Like, if I said one thing that helps somebody else, like that's money. That's so awesome.
Mm-hmm. As a friend of mine, Kelly, says, it's, doing cool stuff with my friends.
Yes.
That's all of that. Creating cool stuff with my friends. Absolutely. And I love doing business that way personally, because it's just like, let's go out and do a bunch of cool stuff. Let's see how we can change the world together as a crew. Yeah. Cool. So I always have one question that I ask everyone on the podcast, and that is, what is one book or other podcast that has significantly impacted your life? Because I want to leave the audience with something that they can kind of go, and I heard this question on another podcast. I really loved it, so I'm asking it on mine.
All right. So a book that I've used this book all the time. I listened to it first a couple years ago, and I keep listening to it over and over again. So, it's got to be good, but it's called The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. I don't know. It's T. Harv. Oh gosh, I can't remember. You'll have to look it up.
Yeah, I have to look it up too.
The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. And it's absolutely fantastic because this is a mindset. Like, if you have the wrong mindset inside of your business, you'll probably never get to that space that you want to financially, wealth-wise, nor impact-wise. When we have more income that comes into the business, we can then impact more people. That's just the way that the world works. So that's my book choice.
Good to know. And I think that hits on a really good topic of, if you go into business, there is a very different mindset shift that has to happen between being trained as an employee, which we are through our lives. We're trained to be employees, and being an entrepreneur. And those of us that are the black sheep in the family that kind of just know in the back of our mind that we're entrepreneurs, we're wired differently. And that's why I'm a huge advocate for telling people ADHD isn't bad. We're entrepreneurs. We think differently. But there's also a skill set that you build as you go through this process. And if you go into it and you don't address if you don't address underlying issues, or you don't confront the issues inside yourself and continue to grow as a person, it will eat you alive. This is not a forgiving process.
Yeah, it really will. And unless people know that that's an additional skill, they don't teach this in school, right? Like, this isn't a thing that you get when you go through kindergarten. Like, hey, by the way, you should actually have a really great mindset to do well in your schoolwork. It doesn't happen there. And I think as entrepreneurs, we do a disservice if we don't tell people that mindset is just as important as the skills that you have and who you're around. And without knowing that, you'll just bang your head against the wall, because you'll be like, I know I'm doing all the right things. I know I'm doing all the right things. and you won't get anywhere. So whether it's a book like The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, or it's a partnership that you have with somebody else that does mindset, it should be a part of every entrepreneur's world in some capacity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So true. Well, Marie, thank you so much for dropping so much wisdom on the podcast. Truly appreciate it. Your role as like implementers in these, in helping us visionaries to get to where we want to be and where we need to be and how we need to help people is absolutely critical. I love what you do. Again, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks again for joining us on the Hustle and Grind podcast. If you'd like to learn more about Marie, click on the link in the description.